I grew up in a great family. I have parents who loved me. I have parents who taught me about Jesus. I have parents who taught me to love the church. My dad was a pastor, and no matter what was going on, we never heard him complain about people in the church. We never heard anything negative. He sheltered us from those things. So I grew up loving Jesus, and I grew up loving the church. Obviously, because of my parents, I am who I am because of my parents, and so I'm thankful for the family that I grew up in. My mom's family and my dad's family were very different when it comes to showing affection. My dad had four brothers and no sisters. My grandma raised five boys, and she was really strict on those boys. She was a tough lady, which you would have to be living with a husband and five sons. And I don't recall, I don't think my grandma ever spanked any of us grandkids, but we were always good around grandma because it just seemed that a spanking was a possibility. Growing up in that kind of environment, my dad didn't experience a lot of affection. He knew his mom and dad loved him, but there were not a lot of outward displays of affection, and they didn't use the words "I love you" freely. So that's the way that my dad raised us. When my brother and I were kids, we didn't hug our dad very often. We didn't exchange the words "I love you" very often with our dad. It was probably a little different with our sister. I have a sister that's 4 years older than me, but with us boys, we were men, and men didn't show outward displays of affection. For my dad, that's what he knew, and so that's what we knew. My mom's family, they were entirely different. Mom has three sisters and one brother, lots of women in that family, and they are huggers and kissers. My brother and I knew when we were young that you had to keep your head on a swivel when you were visiting mom's family because somebody was going to kiss you, and if you weren't ready to turn your head quickly, you were probably going to get kissed right on the mouth. An extremely uncomfortable experience for two boys who thought that men didn't show affection. Now, all of that changed just a few years ago, and I can't remember exactly when it happened, maybe 10, 12, 15 years ago. My dad is 82 now, so he was in his late 60s when it happened, and he realized that he seldom hugged his sons and that he seldom said the words "I love you" to us. Now, he's always loved us, and we knew that. It was just uncomfortable for him to say those words because of the way that he was raised. But he decided that he wanted to change that. So one day, when we ended a conversation on the phone, my dad said, "I love you," and I didn't know how to respond. There was silence on my end of the phone. And I don't remember what I said. I may have responded with an awkward "I love you too." I really don't recall. But I do remember in that moment that I really didn't know what to say. Since that day, our phone calls have ended with "I love you" every single time we talk to each other. And my dad always gives us a hug when we go see him. He always tells the grandkids that he loves them, and he hugs the grandkids. And I just wanted to mention this because right now is a difficult time, and words that people need to hear more than any others, especially during a difficult time, are the words "I love you." I've had conversations with people who've had family members pass away, and I've often heard the phrase, "I didn't have a chance to tell them how I feel." And I don't think it's ever too late, but that's a subject for a different time. But if you want to tell someone that you love them on this side of heaven, do it today. Romans 10, 13 and 14 is my theme scripture for the year, and it says this: "Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. But how can they call on the one they have not believed in? And how can they believe in the one of whom they have not heard? And how can they hear unless someone tells them?" And you've heard me quote this verse many times. To paraphrase, it says, people won't know about Jesus until we tell them. And the same is true about our love. People won't really know that we love them unless we tell them. And it may be awkward, but don't get upset or read anything into it if the person doesn't know how to respond. After all, you've been thinking about it and working your way up to it. The person that you're talking to hasn't had a chance to process it yet. I didn't know what to say when my dad first said "I love you," but I did know that I loved my dad. I just didn't know what to say in that moment. So, is there someone who needs to hear the words "I love you" from you today? Is there someone in your life who you need to call today and say, I just called to say, I love you? And I know those of you that are my age or close to my age are now singing that song in your head. I just called to say I love you. Now you can thank me for that later because you'll be singing that all day. But here's the point that I want to make. There's a lot of stress for different reasons right now. And you may just make somebody's day. You may just remind them that God is in control. You may change somebody's life by simply saying these 3 words. I love you.